and that's not great, obviously. And you know, we're talking 2021 post, you know, Joe Biden gas prices and inflation. So we've got really expensive gas. In fact, the gas station I just left, they only had premium gas available. So I had to pay for premium gas even though the 4Runner doesn't need it. So who knows, maybe I'll notice a difference in the engine performance and the ride quality, but I doubt it. So yeah, just paid top dollar for premium gas in Colorado right before getting into Nebraska. So yeah, gas mileage is really rough. You know, no surprise, this V6 engine, it's a 4-liter. It's been around for like 15 years or something like that, so it's very dated, but you know, they've kept it around because it's so reliable, it's so tried and true. So yeah, gas mileage really rough. I'm very curious to see what happens with the new 4Runner when it comes out. I don't know if that's going to be next year or the year after, but based on what I've seen with like the new Tundra going hybrid, it seems like we're probably going to end up with like a hybrid, or at the very least a turbocharged 4-cylinder, which makes sense. You know, they're more efficient and you're going to get a lot more torque, but hopefully just better gas mileage. I would even take the same performance as this one with better gas mileage, you know, for these long road trips. It would really help the wallet. So yeah, gas mileage is probably the biggest one, and then this is a 2021 Venture Edition, okay, and so this is about as modern a 4Runner as you can get. The 2022 that just came out has one or two more bells and whistles, but this is a pretty modern version. I think that the other negative that comes to mind right away is the infotainment. So this was a huge upgrade over the last version. This was released in 2020 in the 2020 4Runner, and the good news was they put in Apple Carplay. Okay, so that's huge. Big fan of Apple Carplay. I'm glad that I got this version instead of the last one. The bad news is it's still a Toyota infotainment system, and it's pretty awful to use, at least from this area, these buttons. Okay, I do like the volume knobs are okay, but like navigating around the infotainment is just rough. You know, it has GPS. I'm glad it has GPS, you know, for those situations where I don't have a cell signal. But I almost never use it because it's so janky and it's so difficult to use. It's just not intuitive. So you end up using Google Maps, and that's great. But you still kind of find yourself just having to switch between the Toyota system and the Apple CarPlay interface, and it's too clunky. Especially while you're driving a big vehicle like this, you want to be focused on the road and not messing around with the stereo or the navigation. So, you know, that I think that's probably one of the weakest links on these modern 4Runners. Still worth it over the old one. You know, you still want this because it's got the CarPlay, but yeah, a lot of room for improvement here. I've heard that the new Tundra infotainment system is better, so I'm hoping that, you know, the new 4Runner gets that, and hopefully it is better over the long haul. One thing I will say about this system that makes it a little bit easier to use is the steering wheel controls. Once you get used to these controls, it's much easier to use, especially for switching between the source. So if you're going from, you know, your phone to Sirius, for example, you know, doing that switch back and forth is much easier here on the steering wheel, and also the volume controls and everything, and the track switching is much better on the steering wheel. It took me probably a month or two to like get used to that, realize how much better it was. But that makes using this system a lot more tolerable. So, and another note about the CarPlay, which I'm not a big fan of, is, and I don't know if this is an Apple CarPlay thing or if it's the 4Runner exclusively. I kind of doubt it. But when you're on these road trips, a lot of times you find yourself hopping outside of the car, you know, doing these stops to take pictures of amazing scenery, right? And you're going to take your phone with you to take those pictures. But that requires you to unplug from the 4Runner. And I feel like when I get back into the 4Runner and plug the phone back in, it doesn't even remember where it left off. So, and maybe I'm doing something wrong, but like, I usually have to re-enter my destination in Google Maps, which is ridiculous. That's so annoying. And I hope, if that's a CarPlay thing, I really hope they figure that out soon, because that's really annoying. Now, I did end up going and buying this wireless CarPlay adapter, which I'll do a separate video on it. It was probably like $100 or something. I just found it online. There were some decent reviews, so I took a shot, and it does work. The wireless CarPlay is pretty decent. It's much better than having to plug and plug back in, especially on the road trips. So I'll do a review on that, but there is a decent option for wireless CarPlay for the 4Runner. So at least you can do that as a, you know, a temporary fix. So, and that seems to help with getting in and out of the car, taking pictures. It seems to be a smoother transition to resume your trip with directions and whatnot. So that's a pretty good thing. Wow, these semis are really indecisive today. Man, it was so crazy on the way. The wind was so bad yesterday. I saw a flipped over semi. So pretty intense. That tells you how strong the wind was yesterday. But anyway, so yeah, so we covered gas mileage, we covered the infotainment. Third thing I would say, probably just like the storage in general, in the console and in the doors and things like that. I hope in the new 4Runner they really seize on the opportunity to take advantage of these crucial spaces in the interior and make it better for storage in general. That includes the glove box too. You could tell it was designed like 15 years ago and just was not really you know, catered to some of the modern conveniences that we've gotten used to, especially with the bigger phones and all the charging cables and just all the stuff, all the gear that you want to bring on these road trips or camping trips. So I'm hoping Toyota figures that out, because the competition in the space is really heating up. I mean, you know, this December 2021 we're talking, and there are so many cool trucks that have come out, including electric trucks like Rivian, and they have done such cool things with the interiors of these trucks. So it makes the 4Runner interior seem